Welcome, welcome, welcome. It is time for another watch along here on the Solomonster Sounds Off YouTube channel. This is one that I have been looking forward to for quite some time. When I was putting together the schedule of watch alongs this year, there were a lot of anniversaries coming up. We did SummerSlam 92, 30th anniversary of that big main event with Bret Hart, the British Bulldog. But there was a big anniversary coming up for legit one of the greatest matches that I have ever seen. One of the greatest matches of all time in WWE history. Today is 25 years to the day that WWE produced its In Your House Bad Blood pay-per-view from the Heel Center in St. Louis, Missouri. A wrestling stronghold for many, many years. And so I thought this would be a very appropriate watch-along, not only to watch the Hell in a Cell match, first ever, between Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker, but also the debut of one of the most really enduring characters in the history of the entire company. Who knew? When Kane debuted on that night in 1997, who knew that he would stick around for so many years? So it was such an important night, and I'm glad that those of you who are joining today can do so. The chat is members only, so if you are a channel member, you'll be able to chat. We'll hang out and shoot the shit here in the chat. And look, I can't think of a better birthday gift for my birthday tomorrow. You want to put a smile on my face, you can become a channel member. I'm just putting that out there. So if you are not already a channel member, please consider becoming one. In a few minutes here, we're going to get started. We are watching the PEACOCK version of the match from the Bad Blood pay-per-view. So you do need to, well, you don't have to, but it's going to help a lot when I give the timestamp as far as where we're going to be starting here in a little bit. So just so you know, we are using the PEACOCK version. I will turn down the music when we get going here. West Coast gang, look at this. Chris Manson in the chat. Hey, Alan. Quizzical's with us. Good to have you guys here on a Wednesday afternoon. I know some of you are probably at work. You're probably on your lunch break. I'm very happy that you are able to join here today. So you guys can get ready. We're on PEACOCK, and you have to, the way they have it organized, you have to look up the In Your Houses. They have them divided by season. So the one that you want to bring up, it's going to be Season 3, Episode 6. That is going to be Bad Blood. So In Your House, Season 3, Episode 6. We're going to be starting at the 2 hour, 9 minute, 21 second mark. 2:09:21. So I'll give you guys a couple of minutes to get situated, make sure you can get to that timestamp, and then when I give the go-ahead sign, that is where we are going to be starting from. It is right after the video package for the match. There's an interview with Shawn Michaels in the back. There's a video package. Right from the end of that package, you're going to see Sergeant Slaughter and a referee looking under the ring to make sure nobody is hiding out under there. That is the point from which we are going to be starting. But as I look back on this, 25 years ago, where was I at that time? I know I've told this story before. I was at Disney World. I was on a family vacation, a rare family vacation at Disney World for my birthday. And I was pissed that I was missing the pay-per-view. I was obsessed when it came to these pay-per-views and not missing any big shows. So I was actually pretty pissed that I was going to be missing the show that night. So I called into one of the wrestling hotlines. There were tons of wrestling hotlines at that time. There were, one or two that I would sometimes call into to get news updates. And I remember calling into one of those hotlines from our hotel room. And the first thing they mentioned was the fact that Brian Pillman was found dead in his hotel room. And he was, again, 35 years old. He had 5 kids. It was a tragic situation. And it was shocking. And it was really the first wrestling death that, they had the big 10-bell salute on Raw the next night. Like, unfortunately, we would see many more of these in the years that followed. Pillman was really the first. Not the first wrestler to die, but you know what I mean. The first time that it really, I think, maybe hit home for a lot of fans, and it had to be announced on the air, and they did the 10-bell thing the next night, and we had the video tributes. I think I don't know if they did video tributes for him or not, but I know they had Vince McMahon interviewing his widow, which is one of the all-time scummiest segments in Raw history. I don't care who approved that, if she liked it or whatever. It didn't matter to me. That's a fucking scummy-ass move right there. So it was unfortunate, and Pillman, he had just wrestled the night before. He was scheduled for a match on this pay-per-view against Dude Love. And he had just wrestled the night before. He was supposed to wrestle Dude Love with Goldust handcuffed to the ring post. The real feud at that time was Pillman and Goldust. And Pillman had basically almost like kidnapped Goldust's wife, Terry. Per stipulation from an earlier match, Terry was with him and there was nothing Goldust could do. And it was kind of weird because Pillman dated Terry in real life many years earlier before she got married to Dustin. So there's that, little connection there. But Goldust was going to be handcuffed to the ring post. And according to Terry, in later interviews, the plan was for she and Goldust to get back together on Raw following a wedding ceremony. But during the wedding ceremony, Marlena would turn on Goldust and she would go with Pillman. So for all of her being held in captivity against her will, in the end, she would go heel and she would go with Pillman. That was, according to her anyway, that was the creative plans had Pillman not passed away. So Pillman was sleeping on the floor at the house show the night before, which was very unusual, and people could tell that there was something a little bit off about him. He had a few drinks after the show with some of the wrestlers. He turned down a few invitations to go out afterwards and have dinner, and he went back to his hotel room. The last anybody heard from him, he had left a voicemail at home for his wife. And that was the last time anybody had ever heard from him. Now, he and Melanie were actually in the middle of a very, very acrimonious divorce. Even though they were still living together, I think he was banished to the basement around that time. So things were not good on the home front. But that would have been the final time anybody heard his voice. So the next afternoon, which is here, the day of this pay-per-view, he had still not arrived at the building. Bret Hart had still not arrived at the building. And it was not uncommon for Bret Hart to not be there because Bret Hart was notoriously late to events. He would get there an hour or two before the show. So I don't really think that was out of the ordinary. But when people realized that Pillman still wasn't there, they started to get concerned that he wasn't with Bret. They thought he would show up with Bret. They were both part of the Hart Foundation. He was not there. They got very concerned. And so what ended up happening is they called his house. This is about half an hour before the pre-show, the free-for-all, was to go on the air. And his wife didn't know anything. She said, I have no idea. I haven't spoken to him. And it was a few minutes later that everybody, unfortunately, found out what had happened. The company had Jim Cornette call the hotel where Pillman had been staying at. And, depending on who you talk to, either Cornette or it was Bruce Pritchard, it might have been Bruce, one of them, they were the first person to actually be told that the cops had found him dead in his hotel room. And Vince McMahon went out on live television during the free-for-all. He was standing in the back, and obviously he was very unnerved by something, and he announced that they had found out that Brian Pillman had died. He was found dead in his hotel room. He didn't have any other details about it. They did break in once or twice during the pay-per-view. Vince was at ringside to give an update, and he was very solemn, and basically he was covering his ass. The way he was talking, and he was talking about pro athletes doing drugs and stuff, he was covering his ass, basically saying, hey, it's not our fault. But it cast a real shadow over the show, it's kind of weird because this is a show that is very historic because of what happened at the end of the night, but there is that dark cloud, hanging over it for what happened. So the show drew a legitimate 21,000 fans. It was a sellout crowd in St. Louis, actually the second biggest crowd in the history of St. Louis wrestling. It was behind only a match between Strangler Lewis and Jim Londo, so you'd have to go all the way back to 1934. So they had a lot of people in the building that night. This was Vince McMahon's final night on play-by-play on commentary. So for that reason also, it was a very historic show. I like Vince as a commentator. I know some people crap on him. Other people think he's the best. I thought he was actually very good. I kind of miss announcer Vince when you can actually hear what he was saying, and he didn't sound like he was gargling, concrete. During the pay-per-view, they had a segment in the ring honoring the stars of St. Louis wrestling, which is something Jim Ross and Jim Cornette both pushed very hard for. They had Gene Knitsky, Jack Briscoe, Harley Race, Dory Funk, Terry Funk, Lou Thez, and promoter Sam Mushnick. It was almost like a little Hall of Fame in the ring where they were honoring the legends of the past. And then just to go through the card real quick, Nation of Domination. They opened the show with that D'Lo, Rocky Maivia. They beat the Legion of Doom in a handicap match. We were supposed to get Pillman against Dude Love. Instead, they had to quickly scramble. They put together a minis match. All right, well, Pillman's dead. We need a match. Let's send out the minis. So we had Max Mini and Nova beating Mosaic and Tarantula. The Godwins beat the Headbangers to win the tag team titles. Owen Hart beat Farouk for what was the vacant Intercontinental Championship at that time, with an assist from Steve Austin, which the idea was Austin did not want anybody else to hold that title when he won it back. He wanted Owen Hart to win the title so that he could beat Owen when he came back from the neck injury at SummerSlam. So that was why Austin, and there were people who were in the crowd like confused by what he was doing, but that's why they did the finish they did. And I remember this being one of the worst Owen Hart matches that I've ever seen. But you can understand, obviously, he was very good friends with Pillman. I'm sure he was not in the right frame of mind. He just found out his best friend died. Or one of his best friends died. We had DOA against Los Barricas. This was in the middle of Vince Russo's gang warfare. It was gang wars in WWE at that time. Very boring. I was very bored by all this. The Nation, DOA, the Truth Commission, the Barricas. It was all fucking boring. As was this match. Bret Hart and the British Bulldog. They beat the Patriot and Vader in a flag match. It really wasn't much of a flag match. You had the U.S. flag on one corner on a pole, Canadian flag in the other corner on a pole. But in the end, it was Bret Hart rolling up the Patriot and pinning him instead of pulling down the flag. I don't know if there was something wrong with the poles weren't stable and they suddenly changed the rules, because typically you would have to grab the flag in a match like this. And yeah, that would signify a win, but they didn't do that here. Bret Hart also was not in the best headspace, not only because Brian Pillman had just passed away, but you got to remember, Bret had won the WWF Championship at SummerSlam. This was the second straight pay-per-view as the champion where he was not in the main event. He was on the undercard. He wrestled the Patriot at Ground Zero on the undercard. Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker got the main event. Here, he wrestled in a tag team flag match. Second to Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker, who once again got the main event. So he was not thrilled about that. But there was good reason why Bret was not in the main event, because Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker were. And this was the very first Hell in a Cell match to determine a number one contender for the WWE Championship at Survivor Series. And that is the match that we are here to watch today. Still to this day, there have been over 50 Hell in a Cell matches in history. This is still the best one that they have ever produced. Everybody will have their own opinion on what that is. I know a lot of people will argue that it's Undertaker and Mankind, and yeah, there's a lot of debate about that. That's a spectacle of a different kind. But as far as quality, as far as just the drama and historical significance of it, and the violence, and the big debut at the end, all of it put together, this right here is one of the greatest matches that this company has ever produced, period. Not just greatest Hell in a Cell match of all time. But I think since 1997, 50 plus, this one still holds up as the best. Michaels and Undertaker, they went out there. It was only a month earlier that these two had their first one-on-one televised match. I think of all the years they spent in the company, Ground Zero in September of 97 was the first time we had an Undertaker-Shawn Michaels match on television. Maybe there was a house show match at some point that didn't make, TV, but that was the first time, which is very hard to believe. This feud, just real quick here, this feud stemmed from SummerSlam 1997. And actually one of the greatest finishes to a match ever in the main event of SummerSlam in 97. Shawn Michaels was the referee for a title match, Bret Hart challenging The Undertaker. Shawn Michaels accidentally blasts Undertaker in the head with a steel chair, costs him the WWF title. The fans turned on Shawn. Shawn went heel and said, "You're blaming me for this. This is all your fault." That led to Shawn forming DX with Triple H in China. And here we are now. This Monday, Raw's going to be in Brooklyn. 25-year celebration for D-Generation X. They're going to trot out Shawn Michaels and Triple H again. I've lost count of how many DX reunions there have been. Each one is worse than the last. I'm pretty much over it at this point. But this is when DX was just forming. But that is what led to this bitter feud between these two. It all goes back to SummerSlam when Shawn cost him the championship. And for Kane, this was the last chance for Glenn Jacobs. He had already been Dr. Isaac Yankem. That was a fail. He was fake Diesel. That didn't work out. So this was do or die for him. Either this worked or he probably wasn't going to get another shot. And it all leads us to where we are now. So we're going to get ready to go here. Now that I've gotten the preamble done, I have got you all set up to how we got here. So again, for those of you who are on Peacock, just make sure, let me just bring up that time code again. It's In Your House, Bad Blood, Season 3, Episode 6 of In Your House. 2 hours, 9 minutes, 21 seconds. The way that we do this, I'm going to count down from 3. I'm going to say 3, 2, 1, and then play. And when I say play, we'll all push play at the same time. And the first thing that you should see is Sergeant Slaughter checking under the ring to make sure, I guess, that there's no hornswoggle or any other minis hanging out under the ring. So here we go. 3, 2, 1, play. And here we go. We're off to the races. It is Sergeant Slaughter and Earl Hebner. See a lot of crap, a lot of garbage under the ring. I think I see a ladder under there. No people. No people. Hey, Scott, what's going on? Sabian, good to have you, man. Well, here comes Shawn Michaels. He's making his way out first. Hey, Ghostros123 just became a Sound Off channel member. Welcome, Ghostros. Again, if you're anybody coming in late, we started at 2 hours, 9 minutes, and 21 seconds. And we just got going here. Shawn Michaels making his way to the ring with Chyna and Triple H. Shawn Michaels in 1997, as fucked up as he was on pills and booze and whatever it was that he was doing, nobody could touch Shawn Michaels in 1997. When this guy was actually around and he wasn't, off screen and sent home or went home or whatever, lost his smile or whatever, when he was around, I mean, he was untouchable. Nobody could touch this guy. So whatever he was doing outside the ring, it didn't affect his abilities inside the ring. He's got the European title. What you didn't see is in the promo before the match, he was completely mocking the European title. He said, I want everybody to know my coveted European title is not on the line in the match. Whew. So just making a total farce of the whole thing. Douche Michaels, I'll tell you what, Douche Michaels, though, in the ring, one of the best of all time. Nobody can deny that. Now, a little background on how we got to a Hell in a Cell match. It's the first one that this company had ever produced. Jim Cornette takes credit for suggesting the idea of the Hell in a Cell match. And he said once, he told Vince McMahon, make the cage around the ring like Jerry Lawler did in Memphis. He said, you had some room to fight around the ring. He said, why don't we make it a bigger deal? He told Vince McMahon 2 things. Put a roof on it like War Games so that people know there's no way in and there's no way out. Put a roof on it, number 1. And number 2, you make it bigger around the ring so they have more room to maneuver. Vince went for the idea, and that's what you see here. This is back when the cage wasn't that ugly red color that they have it painted now. If Triple H is going to make any changes to future Hell in a Cell matches, he needs to go back to the traditional chain link cage. We don't need the red chain link cage. Looks like shit. Just keep it simple. This thing looks menacing enough. So the lights are flickering. Either they didn't pay their electric bill or the Undertaker is about to make his way out. Oh, there he is. There's the music. Here we go. You see Rick Rude is out there with Triple H in China. Rick Rude did not last very long as part of DX. Once the Montreal Screwjob happened, Rude was out of there. Not working under a contract. Very dumb. That's how he ended up appearing on Raw and Nitro in the same night, when Raw was taped and Nitro was live. Hey, Quizzical, that's the comment that got me blocked on Twitter by Shawn Michaels. I've been blocked for like 5 years. It's all right, though. It's all good. Still no better entrance in wrestling than this. No better entrance than The Undertaker. And this match, really, I mean, this is what Hell in a Cell is built on. This is a personal feud between these two men. If they wanted to, I mean, they're doing a fight pit at Extreme Rules this Saturday, but a match like Rollins and Matt Riddle, Seth Rollins and Matt Riddle, would be an appropriate match to, pay off inside something like Hell in a Cell. And unfortunately, that's one of the things that has happened with Hell in a Cell over the years, is that they turned it into an annual pay-per-view where you can sometimes have 2 or 3 different ones on the same show for matches that don't need it. Matches that don't need the cell. And they've really bastardized it over the year. It doesn't mean what it used to now. I will check in here with your super chats. If you send any super chats in, I will happily read them. I want to make sure I don't miss any of you guys here. Joseph Brooks, thank you for the $4.99. Says, what's the greatest Money in the Bank ladder match to you? Honestly, so many of them run together. I remember liking, there was one of them in 2013. It might have been the one that Sandow won. I think that was one of the ones I liked more than the others. Even the one Big E won, I think it was last year. I remember that being a pretty good one. I don't know if I have that one Money in the Bank match, though, that I can say that one is the best above all else. Hey, Rob, thank you for the $1.99. Kevin Dunn's Beaver says, when production was actually good. Well, you would know. It runs in the family, right? Shinakuma, thank you for the $2. And Dev to Dust with the 5. 1997 Shawn Michaels against pre-car wreck loose cannon Brian Pillman could be one of the greatest matches ever. Well, we'll never find out, but yeah, I mean, pre-car wreck Pillman against Michaels, pre-car wreck Pillman against Steve Austin. I think pre-car wreck Pillman against Undertaker probably would have been a hell of a match. All right, so here we go. Hebner has locked the cage door. Michaels selling the fear. He realizes he's trapped now like a rat in a cage. He's got nowhere to go. Undertaker stalking him around the ring. So again, the cage allows them to have room outside the ring. This is what Cornette was talking about when he said, make it more like Memphis, make it more like Lawler, give them room to maneuver outside the ring. Tyrone Dunstan with the $2 super chat. Thank you, Tyrone. Good to be hanging out with my channel members here on a Wednesday. Ooh, big boot by The Undertaker. Down goes Shawn. Hey, Groovy Goose. Became a channel member. Actually, Groovy Goose just renewed for 1 year, 12 months as a channel member. As Solomonster dances on screen. Solomonster's dancing as Shawn Michaels is getting his ass kicked here. So Undertaker is just having his way so far with Shawn Michaels, but we're still early in the match. Hey, Flamethrower, I saw your chat earlier. That's some good news. Shin, I think it's supposed to be Hell in the Cell. but it's interchangeable. People say it different way. I think I say it different ways sometimes too. So Michaels has him in the corner now, going for the 10 punches. Or 7. Pinfall or submission only. As Vince McMahon just said. Pinfall or submission, the only way to win. There's the flip bump from Michaels. These two, they work so well. I love both of their matches. I love the one the month before, and I love, obviously, this one is fantastic. And even the matches they had all those years later at WrestleMania 25, WrestleMania 26, there's just something about the chemistry between these two. The big guy, Michaels, obviously a little bit smaller, bumping all around for him. It just worked. It really was. It was always a lot of fun to see these two in the ring together. Couldn't believe it took years to get them back in the ring together. Michaels came back in 2002. It wasn't until they had that little finish there at the Royal Rumble in 07 that they were even in the ring together against each other. And then it was another 2 years before they had that WrestleMania 25 match. So they kept them apart for many years. There's the old school rope walk by The Undertaker. So it's been mostly Undertaker, pretty much all Undertaker so far. And they're going to take their time. They have plenty of time to work with here. Last time we would hear Vince, JR, and Jerry Lawler on commentary all at the same time. Undertaker, big leg drop. See, going for a pin. See, I don't like that. I didn't like that because Undertaker wanted to rip Shawn Michaels limb from limb. And he got the match that he wanted. He got him inside of a cage. So we're not even 5 minutes into the match yet. He gives him a leg drop and goes for the pin. Why would he do that? Why would Undertaker want to pin Shawn Michaels? He should want to beat the hell out of him a little bit more. See, I wouldn't have had him go for the pinfall there. He should want to punish this guy. Bloody him up. Oh. Ooh. Bad bump by Michaels. Out over the top. That's very thin padding on the floor. I mean, you may as well just land on the concrete. JB Bell in the chat says, this is nostalgia overload. I literally have not watched this match again since it originally aired decades ago. I've watched the match since, but it's been many years since I've seen this. Shawn's trying to climb the cage. He's trying to get away from him. Undertaker's got him. He's got him. Pulls him down. Darth Panic says, do I think Hogan took exception to other wrestlers using a leg drop? I mean, he shouldn't. It's such a basic move. It's his own fault for picking a simple leg drop if he was going to be pissed off about it. You know what? I don't think he did because it's not the Hogan leg drop. Right? There's only one Hogan leg drop. Undertaker is just kicking his ass. Firing him into the cage, clotheslining him down. This is what I mean. He should want to beat this guy from pillar to post. I mean, what are you trying to pin him in the first 4 minutes for? It doesn't make sense. Keep your eye on the cameraman, because that's going to come into play here in this match. They have a planted cameraman here. It's not going to come into play for a little while longer. But they needed a reason. They needed an explanation for these guys escaping what was supposed to be an inescapable cage, right? No way in, no way out. Well, they found their way out. Uh-oh. Undertaker setting up for a power bomb here on the outside. Or a pile driver. Oh, he got him up. And Michaels holds on to the cage. Powerbombed him. Wait, into the cage. And again. Hey, M. Mills, thank you for the $2. Very kind of you. Thunder Knight. If Pillman did not pass away, I think he leaves after the Montreal Screwjob. He definitely would want to leave. He was already thinking about leaving. Yeah, he was actually very good friends with Meltzer, and he told Meltzer he was very interested in going back to WCW. WCW was his home. He did want to go back to WCW. So I'm sure what they did to Bret in Montreal only would have made him go, fuck this, I'm out of here. The question is, would Vince have let him go? Now, he let Bulldog buy his own way out of his own contract. Bulldog had to pay to leave the company, but he didn't let Owen leave. I don't know if he would have let Pillman leave. He might have. He might have, because Pillman was damaged goods with the ankle. He might have just said, you know what, let's just write this thing off. So it's actually, I think it's very likely Pillman would have probably gotten his release. Undertaker ramming him back first into the ring post. And a second time into the cage. Pillar to post. What did I say? Pillar to post, exactly. He's having fun. Look, that was a smile. I think Undertaker just cracked a smile there for a second. Yep, knocked the cameraman over. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Michaels got it for a second. He got the advantage for a second, and he gets clothesline right back down. Again, the early part of this match was just Undertaker doing what you would expect him to do and what the fans wanted to see him do, which was beat the hell out of this guy. And eventually Michaels will get the heat on him. There's actually a pile driver, a really fucking awesome pile driver spot on the ring steps. It should be coming up here soon. Oh. I don't know what happened there. That was weird. It was like Michaels was supposed to clothesline him. Undertaker, I think, tripped. I think Undertaker tripped and fell. So now Michaels finally has the advantage here in this match. You see how low that it's really not that low, but compared to how it is now, they've raised the height of the ceiling in these cell matches. Now it's like so much higher. But you look at it when they get the wide shot from the hard cam, it actually looks very low. Undertaker stuns Michaels throat first over the top rope. It's crazy seeing HBK here and then seeing NXT HBK. It looks like two completely different people. I said Michaels now today looks like that guy Mike. Is his name Mike or Michael from Grand Theft Auto? Just like a totally different person. So Michaels now is about to go on the offense. Uh-oh, we're going to get our first dive. Oh, we got a dive. We got a dive. We got a tope. See, now if this were today, that would have been probably the 6th or 7th one on this pay-per-view, but I'm going to assume that was probably the first. Although we did have that Mexican minis match, so maybe there was a couple of dives in there. you go. Michaels takes him down off the apron. Oh, Trevor. Is it Trevor? I thought his name was Mike. Is it Trevor? Okay, maybe I'm thinking of Trevor from Grand Theft Auto. Looks like Trevor. All right, here we go. He's moving the ring steps. This is the pile driver spot coming up here. This is one of the big spots of the match. First, he's gonna punish him with the steps. God, I haven't seen this spot in forever. You'll notice they've spent 95+% of the match outside the ring. So they're making use of the extra space that they have, which if this were a traditional WWE cage match, they would have no room at all. But here they have more room to play with. This is what War Games is going to be like in November at Survivor Series, only it'll be 2 rings instead of 1. Here it comes. Listen to this. He's trying for a pile driver. This is trust right here. Oof. Oh. And you're a 6'9", 6'10", 300-pound guy. What was that? I heard a bleep. Oh, of course, it's Michaels. I should have known. Michaels cussing out the cameraman, shoving him away. But you've got to have an insane amount of trust on a spot like that to get dropped on your head on the ring steps. Now, Michaels gets a breather. Undertaker trying to recover. So now the tide is turned. Michaels now has control. If I remember, he'll have control for a while here before the cameraman spot. Actually, wait, maybe the cameraman spot's coming up here. See, the guy back there, that cameraman back there that you see, I think that's the planted one. Yeah, I don't remember ever finding out who the camera guy was. I had just assumed that it was just a wrestler they used in the role to get beaten up by Shawn. But I always thought he kind of reminded me of the bus driver from the movie Speed. Am I crazy for thinking that? Maybe they hired the actor for that role. I don't know. I always thought they looked very very similar. So Michaels has a chair. Again, this is legal. Earl Hebner can plead all he wants to, but it's legal in this match. No disqualification. And like Lawler said, it started this way. Let's end it this way. This goes back to SummerSlam. This goes back to the chair shot when he cost Undertaker the championship. It all revolves around that chair. That's the story here. The story revolves around the chair. And that will come into play at the end of the match as well. Earl is just begging Shawn not to hit him with the chair again. Right across the back. A high concussion blow to the spine, according to Jim Ross. He has a way with words. So now Michaels going to go for the cover. And that makes sense. Michaels wants out of this match as quickly as possible. But again, I don't know why Undertaker would have gone for that pinfall so early in the match. But you could also argue that the winner of this match becomes #1 contender for the title. But I still think he would have wanted to punish him a little bit longer. Again, the winner of this match is going to wrestle Bret Hart at Survivor Series. All right, he's got Undertaker tied up in the ropes. He's got Undertaker locked up. He's got nowhere to go. Undertaker's helpless. He's got nowhere to go. Well, he's got those long legs. He boots his way out of it. See, this is when the production was so much simpler back then. Oh, there it is. Okay. So Michaels just got backdropped over the top rope. He lands on the camera guy, takes him out, destroyed the guy's camera. Called him a son of a bitch. Ah, then he goes. Now, Vince McMahon is going to have a meltdown on commentary about this. He's going to oversell this. The man has a family. What are you doing? He is stomping the shit out of this referee, or this camera guy. See, and Lawler points out, he goes, that's the second time in this match that a camera guy has gotten in the way of Shawn Michaels. And Vince says, well, that was a different camera guy. But, you know, again, the frustration is building, and Michaels just finally exploded. Now, this is important. Now, he's dragging the guy over by the door. And they're going to come in here to try to help this guy out. This is where the match kind of kicks up into the next phase. See, Vince on commentary. We apologize to the family. It's just weird because he used that same voice earlier in the night about Pillman and said we extend our condolences to the Pillman family. He's using his tragic voice here in the same night for this camera guy in this angle. It's just weird. So they're asking for help. They're waiting for help for the cameraman. He's still down. The camera guy looks jacked. So Michaels kips up. Michael Jensen says, hope you're well. One of my favorite matches of all time. I loved this Hell in a Cell. All right, so here comes Sergeant Slaughter here. Here comes Mr. Magoo on his way to the ring. Big elbow by Michaels. Off the top. And they're opening the door. Slaughter is calling for them to open the padlock. Here's Earl Hebner. He's got the key. And Michael sees this. He sees this. He's looking over. He sees they're opening the door. Michael's, though, tuning up the band. He's getting ready for some sweet chin music. All right, so the door is open. He's tuning up the band, Undertaker. Taking his time, getting to his feet. Slaughter has the camera guy. There's the super kick. Down goes Undertaker. Oh, he sits right back up. Michael says, fuck this, I'm out of here. And he's heading out the door. He's trying to get out the door. All right, so they're both out now. So much for the no way in, no way out. They're outside the cell. Drop kick, Undertaker backwards into the cage. Michaels is going to go for another one. But he gets caught this time. Here comes the slingshot. Now you missed it right there. He sliced his head. He was very subtle about it. Right before he got slingshotted into the cage, he did the quick slice of the forehead, and he did a hell of a fucking blade job here because he is going to be gushing blood. This is probably the worst blade job. When I say worst, I mean best. Maybe that I've ever seen. Eddie Guerrero years later, that was just sickening is what that was. He hit a fucking artery. Undertaker spikes him headfirst into the side of the cage like a javelin. And again, Michaels is just pouring blood. It adds so much. I mean, in a match like this, you gotta have that. Again, spikes him headfirst right into the side of the cage. There's that snake eyes. And this is it. This is what Undertaker wants, right? He wants to bloody this guy. He wants to punish him for fucking with him and fucking up his title reign. This has gotten very personal between these two. Again, the stipulation, the violence, the blood, it all fits. This has been building between these two now for 2 months. So now he begins to climb. Michaels says there's only one way. I got to get away from this guy. There's only one way up. I got to climb up this cage. Undertaker grabs his foot. He's trying to stop him from climbing. Michaels, though, is going to kick him right in the head. So there goes Michaels. Michaels going up to the top of the cell. Chris, yeah, that was in the Raw intro for many years. So now the crowd is on their feet. Undertaker climbs right up after him. And there's that great visual. They're standing on top of the cell. Michael's going to try for a pile driver. He's going to get backdropped. Oh, okay, so see, you got blood on the camera. Camera guy's in the ring right underneath them. You see blood on the camera lens. I think this is where the cameraman cusses. Listen. There it is. The Vince goes silent for a few seconds. They don't acknowledge it. Because as the blood drips down on the camera, you just hear the guy go, ah, shit. Probably got blood on him. I'm surprised they didn't actually edit that out. They bleeped out Michaels before. They didn't bleep that out. Look at this. Look at this sight. Gorilla press. Overhead. Oh, I love it. I love it. There's a right hand. Michaels almost falls off the side of the cage. Now he's going to roll over and try to climb down. And this spot right here, up to this point, there had never been a bigger bump in WWE history. This right here, this is, before Mick Foley topped it twice in one night the year after. This is the biggest bump I could think of up to this point, is the cage bump Michaels is about to take. Undertaker's going to stomp on his hands. First the right one. Or the left one, now the right one, and down he goes. 8 feet down. Crashing through, what was that? Of course, probably the Spanish announce table, I'm assuming. He may be broken in half. Yeah, I didn't realize Jim Ross had the broken in half call on this one. I thought it was the second one where that was the first time he said that. So now Undertaker is climbing down. I mean, Michaels is just a bloody mess. You see blood all over the announcer's papers. Stumbling around. Undertaker just tosses him right onto the French announce desk. There's Ray Rougeau. I forgot about him. Oui. Undertaker's got Michaels again. He's going to press him. Oof. Down on the ground. Michaels, he looks like he's been in a fucking war. I mean, he looks like he's been in a car wreck. He's selling it. He could barely stand. I mean, they are driving home the violence of this stipulation. This is the first match of this kind that they've ever done. They call it Hell in a Cell. You want to have a match that drives home that this thing really is hell. I mean, you couldn't think of a better match. You could not have had two better people to put this stipulation on the map in this company than these two guys. So now they're walking around back to the other side of the cage. I mean, look at Michaels. It's sickening. I mean, the blood. It looks like paint, red paint on his face. So he throws Michaels back into the ring, and now Slaughter and Hebner are locking the door. They are padlocking the door shut. Michaels is leaking blood. There's Earl. He's padlocking it shut. Back in the ring now. Undertaker, clothesline. JB, that might have been Tito. Yeah, I think that might have been Tito Santana on commentary. I think he did commentary for a while. Undertaker putting Michaels on the top rope. Crotching him on top. Climbing up. He's going to give him a choke slam from the middle rope. So Michaels is down. Undertaker is leaving the ring. And Michaels, you can see little puddles of blood in the ring. And now Undertaker is going for the chair. Remember what I said before. It all goes back to SummerSlam. It started with a chair shot. Undertaker here is going to end it with a chair shot. Listen to this sickening chair shot. Listen to the impact of this chair shot. Oh. Tattooed him. Tattooed him with that chair. Jim Ross almost caught him. He caught himself there. He was going to say, payback is a bitch. But he stopped himself. And now the lights go out. And there's the music. This is the greatest debut in WWE history. With Vince McMahon, I believe Vince McMahon's greatest call. It's Kane. It's the original Kane. There's Paul Bear. That's gotta be Kane. It's gotta be the most iconic Vince call. Now he's gonna rip the door off. Look how menacing he looks. He looked scary. I mean, I wasn't a little kid at this time when I was watching this, but the guy looked fucking scary walking to the ring. The ominous music, the red light during the entrance, the mask. The mask is fucking awesome. The whole costume is awesome. So now they come face to face. He's got lifts in his boots. Glenn Jacobs has got the lifts in his boots to make sure he's right on Undertaker's level. Now, when he does the pyro thing and it shoots out of the ring post, pay attention because one of the ring posts didn't go off. I think it's the one on the lower right. 3 of them went off. That one, I think, didn't go off. I remember that. Yeah, that one didn't go out or go off. There's the kick to the gut. Now he's going to pick up Undertaker, and he's going to forget where the hard cam is. So he's got it, but then he doesn't know, so he's he's turning around with him. Now he finds it. He lost himself there for a second. Kane couldn't find the hard cam. Just look at this fucking guy. Tell me that is not the greatest debut in the history of this company. This is the best version of Kane now. Paul Bear threw something on the ref. I think it was a water bottle to wake him up. That's got to be Kane. And now in the ring, Michaels is going to crawl over. Crawling literally out of a pool of his own blood. Earl Hebner with the classic slow count. I liked it. I thought it built more drama. And there's the 3. They're going to zoom in on Michaels, his face and his eyelid. Wow, look at the blood. You can see it. It's like jetting out of his head. He looks like he was in a fucking war. An actual war. I mean, this is just an iconic fit. Here comes Triple H in China. They pull Michaels out of the puddle of blood. And he is now the #1 contender for the WWE title. There's Rick Rude to hold the ropes open for him. And they have to carry Michaels to the back. He can't even stand on his own 2 feet. Now, this show is in Kane's hometown. He tells the story he had visited his parents that day. And a friend of his offered to give him a ride to the arena, and his friend's car broke down on the way to the building. So it was a little dicey there. He didn't think he was going to make it. And imagine if he didn't make it, how different things might have turned out for him. There he is. There's Shawn Michaels. This sets up the match with Bret Hart in Montreal. Again, it's why I always say you can look back on it in hindsight. You don't even need hindsight. You know, if Vince and all of them were trying to figure out a way out of the whole Montreal situation once they realized that Shawn wasn't going to lose to Bret, Bret wasn't going to lose to Shawn. Undertaker didn't even have a match at Survivor Series, and he was in the building. He was there. Undertaker was in the thick of this. He was feuding with Bret. He was feuding with Shawn. It would not have been difficult to add him to the match and make it a triple threat. You still could have had Bret and Shawn in the ring. Undertaker could have taken the losing fall. You would have avoided a lot of headaches. I'll never understand that. I know Bret versus Shawn one-on-one was the bigger marquee match, but I think that would have been a fine solution to their problem. Instead, you had Undertaker sitting in the back with nothing to do. So that's going to wrap this up. Undertaker has no idea where he is. He has no idea what just happened. He got fucked. That's what happened. He got screwed. The greatest debut of all time. There have been some great debuts in WWE history. We've had Chris Jericho. If not for Kane, I think it would be Chris Jericho. But I can't put Jericho over Kane. Everything about this was perfect. You had other great debuts over the years. Jericho, Taz, The Rock debuting at Survivor Series and winning, right? In his first elimination match, the Nexus, coming out on Raw, beating up John Cena and CM Punk. Kevin Owens debuting on Raw as the NXT champion and laying out John Cena. There's been a lot of great debuts over the years. None better than what we saw here on this pay-per-view with Kane. This pay-per-view, this Bad Blood show, was the very definition of a one-match show. Everything else on this show basically sucked. It was all about the main event. The other matches were no good. You had the shadow of the Brian Pillman news kind of hanging over this entire event. This was the very definition of a one-match show. This was a match that Dave Meltzer gave 5 stars to, which is not something he did very often with WWE matches. He would not give 5 stars to another WWE match. I want you to think about this, because we're celebrating 25 years after this. He wouldn't give 5 stars to another WWE match until John Cena and CM Punk at Money in the Bank in 2011. That's how long it was before he gave the full 5 in The Observer to any other match from this company. And to me, I don't understand to this day. I know it's all subjective, that's his system or whatever, but how did Michaels and Undertaker at WrestleMania 25 not get 5 stars? Because of the botch with the cameraman? I mean, if that isn't a 5-star match also, I don't know what is. What a story that would have been, too. Right? If he had not given any other WWE match 5 stars since Michaels Undertaker in 1997, and the next match that got 5 stars was Michaels and The Undertaker in 2009. I don't understand how that match did not get 5 stars. But as far as the aftermath of this, there was a little thing called the Montreal Screwjob that took place at Survivor Series the following month. Obviously, Undertaker and Kane continued their feud. Undertaker would not fight his little brother until he would. And then they had their first match at WrestleMania. We had the explosion of the Attitude Era, and that had as much to do with the birth of the Mr. McMahon character as much as the rise of Stone Cold. So they just took off into the stratosphere coming out in the months that followed here. We had the birth of the Austin Era once he won the championship. So let me catch up with some of your super chats and some of your messages here. I want to make sure I don't forget anybody. Rob Virginio, my favorite match ever, complete chaos. That's what I love about it. It's the chaos, it's the quality of the match itself, it's the story that they told, it's the debut at the end, it's the violence, it's just, I love it all. I love it all. It really is truly one of the greatest matches I've ever seen. And 25 years have gone by, right? Time flies. What else can you say? Time flies. So I want to thank you guys for hanging out with me. We are going to be doing more of these watch-alongs. I have at least another 2 or 3 planned before the year is over. I'm thinking about the Halloween Havoc match from '97. Also, 25-year anniversary coming up. Rey Mysterio and Eddie Guerrero. Let me know if that's something that you might want to do. I'm looking at Wednesday the 26th. Maybe we come back and do a watch along for that. But for sure, Montreal, Bret Hart versus Shawn Michaels. We will do a watch along for the Montreal match. That'll be on November 9th, which should also be a Wednesday. And then the first ever Elimination Chamber. It was brought to my attention because I had forgotten about this. But we are coming up on the 20-year anniversary of the very first chamber match, which I think is November 17th, 16th or 17th. And so we will be doing a watch along for that as well. So those are some of the ones coming up in the future. They're all going to be members only in the chat. So if you want to get in on the conversation, if you want to support the channel, please consider becoming a channel member. This is not the last time I'm going to be live with you today, because tonight, Dynamite is celebrating 3 years. 3 years since the very first episode of AEW Dynamite. We're celebrating everything tonight. We're going to be on the air tonight when the clock hits midnight. So technically, I will be starting my birthday with all of you. Not only is it Dynamite's birthday, we're heading into my birthday. So I hope you'll be able to join tonight. We'll hang out. We'll talk about AEW. We'll have a good time. So that is coming up a little bit later. See, that guy right there, that I did not want to see Kevin Dunn here. As I ended this stream, he's the last person I wanted to see. Darth Panic with the $2. Says, my Padres against your Mets in the wild card round. Let's go. Should be a good series. Should be a good series. Looking forward to it. The only thing that matters is who wins the World Series. All this division nonsense does not matter. So anyway, yes, join me tonight. We will be live again for the second stream of the day. And that's all I got. So be well, stay safe, enjoy the rest of your afternoon, and I will be back with you tonight for AEW Dynamite. Till then, take care, guys.